I thought at first it wasn't okay to be who I identify as, just because I didn't want to break the typical like heteronormative like society status, like, oh, if you're a man, you have to go out with a girl, or if you're a girl, you have to go out with a guy. And also being the only boy in the family, I thought I had this standard that I had to uplift and live into, that I'm gonna be the man of the house later on when our dad, gets older. And then not show like emotions, because that's not something men do. You're not supposed to cry, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to have any feminine stuff or act feminine. So that was one of my fears growing up, that I wasn't going to be accepted if I don't be who I am. I personally identify as queer/questioning. So that basically means I'm not really sexually attracted to a specific gender, or I don't really identify as one gender identity. I would just say like currently in my mind, my body, and my spirit and whole being, I'm still in this journey of really discovering myself. I was born in the Pangasinan area in the Philippines. I remember when I was about to graduate 6th grade, my mom told me that it's going to be a little celebration for me since I'm graduating. She said, oh, we're going to Disneyland. And I was very excited. I was really bragging about that. It's the first theme park that I've been with. I've never been to any place like that. My favorite part will be the roller coaster rides. I've never been in roller coasters, so just the thrill of it, and the mixed feelings that you get, the adrenaline and the rush and being nervous, all mixed together. Being with my cousins too, all my little cousins were showing me around the rides, kind of like translating too, since I didn't really know how to properly speak English yet. So they were there to just guide me and tell me waiting the line, how to order food. So it was a great experience overall. When I arrived here, I was 11 years old. I lived in Carson City since 2007 when I arrived here on April 21st. We were only supposed to stay here, I guess, as a tourist, because we had a tourist visa. So once we went to Disneyland, we were just living with some of our relatives here. And a couple months later on, my mom and my cousin just enrolled me to middle school. And I guess that's when I found out, oh, I'm going to stay here and live here. When I was in middle school, my teacher has been like my counselor and my guidance. Actually, I didn't really know that I was undocumented or didn't have legal status until one of my teachers disclosed to me that I was a visitor and I wasn't supposed to stay here, but she was very supportive about it. I thought I was going to be reported to the principal or anything, or it's going to be a big problem, but she didn't make a big deal out of it. She was actually very helpful. She would ask me for my interests and helping me find my identity. My middle school teachers, my high school teachers really took it upon the next step and exceeded, their job duties. A lot of our teachers are now not getting paid for what they're doing. They're basically our parents, our counselors, our supporters when we're not at home. Props to all the teachers around. I'm currently going to California State Dominguez Hills, and I am majoring currently in the kinesiology department for a discipline in physical education and teaching. All my families and siblings are all in the Philippines. I have 4 sisters. being long distance, and I haven't seen them in like since 2007 when I came here. So it's a little hard. There's like a disconnect, especially when my mom passed away. I feel like my mom was a bridge to us. Even though we're not physically together, for us to just communicate, check up on each other, that's kind of lost. But if it's not for big things like, my sister having a baby, it's like we really don't communicate anymore, because I think there's a lot of connection that was lost. She had to go through chemotherapy and all the medications, but her immune system was going down, and then she developed shingles, which is typical for people who have cancer, since when they go to chemotherapy, most of their white blood cells are also affected through the whole radiation. She started, not feeling too strong anymore. Her immune system was falling down. Her whole body functions were also kind of diminishing over time. So she decided to, just spend the rest of her, time in the Philippines. The Philippines is a really beautiful country with a lot of, oceans and seas. So I think it's just great for her to be with my sisters for the last time, since, I've been with her here for almost like 8 years. So I think it was really time for her to just, spend her last moment with them. I received a Skype video call from one of my sisters, and my mom was basically saying, or one of her last words was to me, is that she was sorry that she wasn't able to give everything to me, or she wasn't able to be who I wanted her to be for me. But I was just telling her, like, you don't have to be sorry, you don't have to cry, you're giving me everything, you're giving me a chance to stay in America and pursue a higher education, that everything she did and everything she could have done was to the best of her abilities and for the better future of myself. Yeah, it was just like really disheartening for to think that my mom felt like she wasn't able to give everything to me. And during my, like my rebel phases also, I feel like that's maybe one of the reasons why she felt that way, is because I would always rebel, or maybe just throw tantrums and be mad at her for no reason. So maybe that kind of played a role of how she felt that she wasn't able to give me anything, but in the opposite side, she actually has given me everything. Being undocumented is already one thing to be really fearful about, but being in our society right now too, and with the administration that we have right now, it was really hard for me also to come out as queer or questioning. I was actually a little bit more confident to come out first as undocumented, since I wasn't into the LGBT community first. I was actually more into fighting for immigration.
All right, thank you. So I'll get the paperwork and turn it in. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
When I found out, there's also a lot of people like me, like UndocuQueer, like a lot of people that are undocumented but are also queer. So that's when I found out, there's a lot of things that I should really be proud of and fight for. So that's when I learned that, I think it's really time for me to come out of the shadows.
I strongly believe like Patrick is one of the most resilient individuals, because when I first met him, right, he was talking about his issues about, again, being undocumented, being Filipinx, and being part of the LGBTQI community, right? But beyond that, the way he does it, right, and the way he shares the message as well, I think it's really, really beautiful. But he's resilient not because he's undocumented, right, but because he has found ways and alternatives to continue and keep going, right? There's obviously situations in his life where a lot of people would have given up, but not Patrick.
I need to be me to really inspire other people and come out to the world and, try to build a stronger, sense of family around our society.
With the LGBTQ, the gender identity spectrum is very broad. You don't just have to be part of one or two. You could be multiple things or even just be one.
Queer has both like a slang term and an academic term, but like the more common use of it is just the history of it kind of comes from people using it against people, saying you're strange, you're weird, you're queer, and people kind of using it as a violent tactic towards people to label them as other. And people have, especially since the 80s, during the HIV crisis. And so during that time, activists really started rising up, and the term queer became this term that people were like, this is a word that brings us together in our struggles, and it gives us power because we're angry and we're hurt and we're dying. And so I think a lot of the energy of queer is really militant in that way because of that. And to say we're queer, it brings our connections together.
I would say there's a lot of negative energies that people like me would have to face, not only coming out of the shadows as undocumented, but also as a queer person. Having that fear every day, sometimes when you step out of the house, you can either be taken by immigration, or for people who are anti-LGBT or anti-gay, or all these hate crimes going on right now from our communities. That's something that I fear, and I fear from my fellow peers.
For undocumented folks, having a space where they can be out and not feel like there might be risk, and where they can have people that understand them, that's like not necessarily just a safe space, but it's also like a community space. And it's important for queer people to have that too, because there's a lot of risks that come with it. We can be hurt, we can lose our jobs, we can, lose our housing. Hate crimes against LGBTQ people right now are on the rise, and people keep telling us to our faces that things are getting better, that things get better, but they don't. They just get a little different.
I'm a board member for some of our student-led organizations in campus, and a lot of things that we do is healing circles where we sometimes just come as a unity, to kind of vent out, let whatever we're feeling out to the world, just because sometimes when you hear from somebody else that experiencing it, you're not alone. It really gives you a sense of belonging, a sense of you're not the only world that's struggling right now. And then when you get to express it out and share with other people in a circle, and that it's a safe zone and you have a sense of trust with everyone else, it's very uplifting, and it's just a big sense of relief.
And sometimes you need a queer space even when you are super out. And I'm super out and queer, but I gotta deal with so much homophobia and transphobia and all these other things, that having another community to talk about those things with, to understand it, or to not have to explain it, but to be understood. That's what these spaces are for, where we can learn about each other and teach about each other and do some healing.
We are so grateful today to be opening the Queer Culture and Resource Center. I want to give thanks to all the queer folks and the allies who have been here before, fighting for this space to exist. We know many people have been hidden for a long time trying to make this space, and we are coming out today.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good and happy. It's finally open to all the students, so I'm just excited for more people to come in, definitely utilize the space.
Those sanctuaries, those places of healing, of regrouping, of building community are hard to find, especially if you have multiple other identities that are pushed out to the margins as well. Like that healing is so vital so that we can remember how powerful we are and how beautiful and important all of us are to each other.
I feel like my education is a form of showing your strength, and that you're not gonna just stand there and be pushed around and put down just because you don't have a piece of paper that you can't go to school.
I think this night is really, really powerful, and it makes an impact, right? To come as a community and to celebrate the achievements of this amazing, amazing individuals. We definitely know this was not an easy task for any of you, and so because of that, today we celebrate you and your families.
I know this event is meant to be happy, but it's just really disheartening, but also it gives me like two different emotions to see all the family members of everyone here today and not having any parents in front of me because from the Philippines, and my life has just been like a roller coaster, and in that ride really I felt so lonely just because again I don't have my parents. I have all these identities that a lot of people misjudge me about or mistreat me just because I'm different than everyone else. When my roller coaster is crashing down or when it's low and it's needing a repair, if it's needing of a fuel, I don't have any of those, or I didn't have any of those. Until I actually came here to Dominguez Hills, I actually see a lot of my really close friends over there waiting for me, so that just really warms up my heart because then I felt like my roller coaster was crashing down and broken and I was alone, and I have my compas and my amigas who are accepting, just hyping me up, letting me my true self. So thank you all for joining my crazy extra ass and what the fuck you doing kind of lifestyle. So thank you all for joining my roller coaster ride.
I just really want to be the very best version of myself, to get back to the community, to have opportunities for other people to not go through the same thing that I'm going with, to have the resources available for them, to have the support system that I wasn't able to have when I was growing up. I'm just really looking forward to really just make a better society and community that we have right now.